Schindler's List, we step back into one of the darkest chapters of human history, a time when cruelty reigned and compassion seemed almost impossible. The film you're about to see, Schindler's List, tells a true story, not of a perfect hero, but of a flawed man who discovered his heart in the midst of horror. We gather not just to listen, but to remember, to look unflinchingly into one of the darkest chapters in human history, and to see, shining through that darkness, the light of one man's conscience. It is testimony, a story of cruelty, courage, and unexpected redemption. In 1939, Oskar Schindler was a German businessman, charming, ambitious, a member of the Nazi Party, who came to Kraków, Poland, to make his fortune. He was no hero. Not yet. He was a man of charm, ambition, and appetite, a businessman, a member of the Nazi Party, and someone who believed he could profit from war. To him, the Jewish community of Kraków represented cheap labor. His factory, the Deutsche Emalwarenfabrik, or Emalia, produced enamelware for the German army. And for a time, that was all it was meant to do. But as the occupation deepened, the city changed. Jewish families were stripped of their homes, their rights, and finally, their lives. Through the quiet faith and wisdom of his accountant, Itzhak Stern, Schindler began to understand the price of indifference. His factory, once built for profit, became a refuge, and his workers, once numbers on a ledger, became names on a list that would mean life. As the war raged and evil marched forward under the command of men like Amon Goeth, Schindler risked everything, his wealth, his reputation, his safety, to save more than 1,100 souls from the machinery of death. His list became their ark, and his courage, their salvation. But in that factory, among the hum of machines and the smell of molten metal, something began to change. Through his Jewish accountant, Itzhak Stern, a quiet man of dignity and wisdom, Schindler began to see not workers, not numbers, not names on a ledger, but people. Steven Spielberg's direction captures the story in stark black and white, as if history itself refuses to color over the truth. And amid that world of gray and ash, there is a single flash of red, the code of a little girl, a symbol of innocence lost and of the world's awakening to its own blindness. In a film shot entirely in black and white, she is the only color. She walks through the chaos unseen, untouched, until even her small light disappears. And that moment changes Schindler, and in a way, it changes us. In the film's final moments, when Schindler breaks down, crying that he could have saved just one more, we see a man fully redeemed, a reminder that goodness often begins in the smallest acts of conscience. As the war darkens, Schindler's heart begins to turn. He uses his wealth, his charm, and his connections, not to enrich himself, but to save others. Bribes, favors, forged papers, anything that would keep his Jewish workers out of the death camps. He risks everything, his fortune, his reputation, his safety, to protect those who have no power of their own. He becomes a paradox, a Nazi saving Jews, and in that contradiction lies one of history's greatest miracles. The list he compiles, names typed by candlelight on fragile sheets of paper, becomes their salvation. It is said, the list is life, and in that list are more than 1,100 souls who would survive because one man could not bear to watch them perish. His courage stands in contrast to the film's embodiment of evil, Amon Goeth, the sadistic commandant of the Plaszow labor camp. Played with chilling realism, Goeth is the face of monstrous indifference, shooting prisoners from his balcony for sport, a symbol of how absolute power corrupts the human soul. And when the real survivors and their descendants place stones upon his grave, we understand this story is not just about the past. It's about the courage to choose mercy when the world decides hate. It's about what one person can do when they decide that one life, every life, matters. This is Schindler's List, a film that doesn't just show us history, it asks us who we would be in its pages. Against that cruelty, Schindler's compassion becomes a defiant act of rebellion, a whisper of humanity in a world gone mad. When the war finally ends, Schindler gathers his workers, his Jews as they call themselves, and weeps. He looks at his car, his pin, his watch, and cries, "I could have saved one more." That moment of anguish is not weakness, it is awakening. It is the sound of a man's soul finally seeing the value of a single life. In the final scene, the black and white of history gives way to color. The survivors, the real men and women saved by Schindler, walk to his grave in Jerusalem. Each one places a small stone upon it, a Jewish sign of remembrance and respect. And then, among them stand their children and grandchildren, living proof that one man's courage can echo through generations. More than 1,100 lives saved, and today their descendants number in the thousands. And the name Oskar Schindler, once a man of greed and compromise, is spoken with reverence, a symbol of redemption and moral awakening. And remember, even in the darkest times, one person, one conscience, one act of mercy can change the world. This is Schindler's List.